Good morning, traders. I'm Emily Vani, the CEO of the Investment Banking Institute and your host here at NewsWare's Trade Talk. Joining me is trading anchor Bill Olson, who brings more than 30 years of institutional trading experience to our program. At Trade Talk, we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Today is Tuesday, October 14th. Wall Street is coming off a bounce back in stocks to start the week after markets rallied yesterday on easing concerns about trade tensions. But this morning, markets are retreating because tensions seem to be rising again. But during regular trading yesterday, the Dow surged 587 points, the S&P 500 added 102 points, and the Nasdaq jumped 490 points. Bill, let's get into today's action with what is happening in the markets this morning.
Hi, yes, good morning, Emily. Yeah, I'm watching the S&Ps. We're down about 0.8% right now, 0.9%. We were down over a full percentage point there for a while. So we are definitely seeing weakness. It really is being caused by by the perception of trade tensions between the U.S. and China. I mean, listen, the latest announcement for China on trade was not particularly that significant. China sanctioned 5 U.S. subsidiaries of a Korean firm. And, they're both starting to charge fees for access to their ports. But China's act of sanctioning 5 U.S. subsidiaries, that's really kind of elevating tension. So we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, worrying about these elevated tension. And as such, you saw the S&Ps, drop 1% early this morning. But I'm not overly concerned about that really particular issue. And then the key thing will be if President Trump and President Xi meet at that trade summit later this month. I think that will do a lot. I don't think Trump's going to be putting 100% tariffs on Chinese goods. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's just his rhetoric. Today, President Trump's going to be meeting with the president of Argentina. You remember, last week, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent arranged for a $20 billion financial assistance package to the country. So, yeah, the guy owes him. Speaker Johnson is out there, and he's predicting that the federal government shutdown may become the longest in history. Yeah, I suspect that this is going to start to drag on the markets, and the markets have not really fully priced this in yet, but it definitely is going to be an issue. The key economic event for today? Hey, it's going to be a speech. It's going to be a speech today by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. He's likely going to be dovish. He's likely going to be in favor of a rate cut at the upcoming meeting. He's likely to say he's very data dependent. Well, without any data, he's got to look at the oldest data. I mean, they have other models, but I do think he's going to continue on the path of lower interest rates. What else do we have going on? Salesforce, that Dreamforce conference starts today. That's their key. That's their key conference that they do every year. What is it? Oracle Cloud is going to be deploying 50,000 AMD AI chips. That's big. That's big news because that's real significant competition to NVIDIA. What else do we have? Cloudfair, ticker NET, Nancy Edward Tom, they're having their Cloudfair conference today in AVGO, which is Broadcom. They're having their open compute project summit that starts today. Let's talk earnings. Hey, we had some positive earnings reports come out. Earnings beat WFC, J&J, JPM, DPZ. JPMorgan is a little weak, though, I will say, but the other ones are trading strong. And then tomorrow morning, we got Progressive, Abbott Labs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, and ASML Holdings. They're all going to be scheduled. They're all scheduled to report tomorrow morning. So those are going to be the key ones to watch today. But then let's take a check at global markets. And we got to start off by taking a look at the DAX. I mean, the DAX is down 1.12% or 273 points. It was down over 300 points there for a while. Listen, there is weakness in energy stocks. A lot of it has to do with the perception of weakening trade between trade talks between the U.S. and China and various political risk that's going on throughout the world. You look at London, the FTSE's down 0.29%. Mixed UK jobs report, and trade tensions are kind of impacting the sentiment. But in France, the CAC, it's down 0.87%. Now, they got political instability in France. Macron is is facing another no confidence vote. And that could really hurt their political situation. And plus, on top of that, Moody's issued a credit downgrade on the country, overnight. So that really has European stocks looking a little bearish this morning. Then we're turning our attention over to Asia last night, and Asia saw losses. The Nikkei. The Nikkei was closed on Monday for Sports Day, but it was open last night or this morning, and it fell 2.58% or 1,241 points. Political instability rocketed the markets. I mean, the collapse of a decades-long coalition between two groups in China is kind of like, really causing a lot of concern for equities market. And the yen kind of strengthened. So yeah, you got some real issues there in Japan. Hong Kong fell down 1.73%. That's the seventh straight losing session for the Hang Seng. And really it's due to the inconsistencies that's flaring up between the U.S. and China and their trade relations. China fell 0.62%. Tech, materials, energy shares all kind of leading the move lower. Then we got to talk oil, because oil is just getting hit this morning. I mean, you got WTI at $58.20 a barrel, down 2.17%. You got Brent at $62.02 a barrel, down 2.05%. What's causing this big drop in oil? I mean, it's the IEA, the International Energy Administration, the International Energy Agency. They raised their forecast for global oil supply growth to 3 million barrels per day in 2025 and 2.4 million barrels per day in 2026. And they're saying, listen, we're going to get increased production out of OPEC and growth out of the Americas. This is going to lead to elevated production levels. In addition, the IEA downgraded the demand growth to around 700,000 barrels for both 2025 and 2026. So, that creates a supply glut, and that creates lower oil prices. So you look at oil down 2% this morning. But that's what I have for you in terms of a morning market update, Emily.
About the question today really is not what is happening, but what is not happening. There are a number of things to be keeping track of across all fronts. Obviously, we're continuing to watch the trade tensions between the US and China. We're watching what's happening with the Trump administration, the government shutdown. There are a number of corporate events today, as you listed. We'll get to those in just a moment. We have a bunch of Fed speak to be keeping track of. And when it comes to earnings, investors are digesting a host of big banks and big name earnings and are anticipating a bunch to look ahead to. So let's start there, Bill. What is going on in terms of earnings action?
Yeah, we got a lot of earnings that came out. We got to start off with Domino's Pizza, DPZ, David Paul Zebra, because I'm hungry. They beat by 12 cents, and they did it on higher revenue. You look at DPZ, it's up 4.10% this morning. Wow, nice beat. Then you got Wells Fargo, ticker WFC. They beat by 11 cents on higher revenue. You got Goldman Sachs, ticker GS. They beat by $1.14 on higher revenue. You look at Goldman Sachs, it's actually trading lower by 2% this morning. And then you get JPMorgan, ticker JPM. They beat by 20 cents, but they did it on lower revenue. You look at JPMorgan this morning, it's down about 0.3%. So yeah, you had a mixed bag of earnings, but we had some good, we had some bad, but the banks are starting to report. So we're really at the first phase of our earnings season. And tomorrow morning, you got ASML Holdings. That's going to be a key one. Their EPS is $6.36, and their expected move is 7.65% when they release tomorrow morning. Then we got Morgan Stanley, ticker MS, Michael Sam. Their EPS is $2.07, and their expected move is 4.54% when they release. Now, there's other companies releasing tomorrow morning. I mean, Abbott Labs is coming out, Bank of America is coming out. But so there's going to be a lot to start watching. So we got to keep a keen eye on our earnings model, Emily.
And Bill, when it comes to earnings, I will point out that Wells Fargo was your pick of the day yesterday. That beat by 11 cents on higher revenue. We'll see how the stock is doing and how that call worked out by the end of the show. So hang with us till the end. When it comes to economic events, we're still quiet on the data reporting front because of the ongoing government shutdown, but where we're not quiet is Fed speak. So Bill, let's dive in. What's going on in terms of economic events?
Yeah, no real economic reports, but we got a lot of Fed speak at 8:45 a.m. We're going to hear from Fed Governor Michelle Bauman at 12:20 p.m. We're going to hear from Fed Chairman Jerome Powell at 3:25 p.m. Fed Governor Christopher Waller will be speaking, and then at 3:30 p.m. we're going to hear from Boston Fed Bank President Susan Collins. This Powell speech, that's really going to be the key economic event for the day, and he's likely going to be dovish on interest rates. So that's what we got to keep in focus on, Emily.
We will keep a focus on that, keeping track of all of those comments, including from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, using your NewsWare's, setting up alerts so you can grab all of that commentary quickly. You're getting those earnings reports also right as they hit the tape, gathering that data using your NewsWare. And you even mentioned a whole host of corporate events in your opening. You're keeping track of those types of things using your NewsWare, along with other types of corporate news and data and information coming out of different sectors and segments using your NewsWare. You're watching merger news, guidance news, shareholders meetings, buyback news, and catalyst calls. You're grouping your stocks together like your FANG stocks and your Dow 30 stocks, tracking them using alerts. So, Bill, what else do you see is possibly moving the markets today?
Doing a quick data check. I'm looking at my Dow stocks. I got 7 higher and 23 lower, not positive. And then I have, my FANG stocks, and they're all trading lower. They're all showing weakness, and that's not good to start the morning. That's why we're seeing some real weakness in the S&Ps, which is down 0.81% this morning. But you're looking at some of the news behind the tape. There's some news out on Apple. Apple's rebranding. It's Apple TV Plus. They're dropping the plus. They're just going to be Apple TV. They want to be separate. They want to be a little different. So yeah, okay, that's fine. I don't think that's going to move the stock price much. Amazon, ticker AMZN, they're planning on hiring 250,000 workers for seasonal help during this holiday season. Google, ticker GOOG, they're going to invest $24 billion in AI in the U.S. and India. Apparently, they've allocated $9 billion for investments in South Carolina. Meta Platforms. This is interesting because Citi's tracking their ad load expansion, and they show tracking higher. They're suggesting the highest quarter over quarter ad load since the fourth quarter of 2022. So Meta, the stock's getting hit hard today. It's down, over 1%, but there could be something when, because their earnings are coming out in, I think, 2 weeks. What else do we got? We got to talk Dow Jones 30 stocks. We got to talk Visa. Visa's launching a protocol for AI agent verification in e-commerce. We got to talk Disney, ticker DIS. They're considering a co-CEO structure to replace Bob Iger. Listen, Bob Iger is the best CEO they could get at Disney. You're not going to find a guy that can carry his shoes. So a co-CEO structure might be a good solution. At least where you got 2 guys to choose from. Johnson & Johnson announcing plans to separate its orthopedic business. That's interesting. Let's talk takeover chatter and merger news. PZZA, Domino's Pizza. Volatility is spiking. And there is takeover chatter in Papa John's Pizza, PZZA, Paul Zebra, Apple. It's not just Domino's Pizza. There's something going on here. Now, I've got a couple ideas as to who might be looking to purchase this, but I got to do a little more research before before I start talking about it. But I do have some ideas. But PZZA appears to be in play. And 2 of the largest timber landowners in the U.S. are agreed to merge. That's another interesting one. Let's talk guidance news. Let's talk MGM. Michael Grace. Michael, this is Bet MGM. Those guys are out there this morning saying third quarter performance is ahead of expectations. MGM, Michael Grace, Michael. Shareholders meetings, PG, Paul Grace. We got Procter & Gamble. They're having a shareholders meeting today. Starts at 9 a.m. In terms of catalyst events, Vodafone, VOD, Victor Oscar David, Citibank places Vodafone on a 90-day negative catalyst watch list. Don't really like that play. But that's what I have for you in terms of news hitting the tape this morning, Emily.
This is the type of data that NewsWare delivers daily. It's factual, it's market moving, and our alerting functions bring it to your attention as it happens. Go to www.newsware.com now, sign up for the trial, and see for yourself the benefits that professional Newswire delivers. We've now made it to that time of the show for the Trade Talk pick of the day. Sifting through a wealth of information today, Bill, what is your pick of the day today?
Prologis, ticker PLD, Paul, Larry, David. I mean, it looks the best out of the group. I mean, the fact of the matter, earnings are due out tomorrow morning. Now, the EPS is $1.44. The expected move is 3.99% after their release. You look at the call volume from yesterday, 2,747 calls against 966 puts. That's like almost 3-to-1. That's very positive. Then you look at the open interest, 37.5K versus 30.8K. Again, positive. I would like to see that number a little wider, but still, that's positive. And then I look at the major brokers, and they are positive on the stock. They're raising price targets. They got strong ratings on it. So yeah, but today we're walking into a situation, and now in risk management, it's your entry price. It's everything here. Now you got to look at this market. You got to be a little concerned because we're going to have our lower opening. We're going to have a lot of weakness at the opening. I don't think that'll hold on to it. But in terms of like an entry price, I'm going to say 112. I'm going to say 112, give or take 20 cents. And the reason why is I do think there's a possibility it could fall underneath 112 to 1180. But I'll say 112 is my entry price, give or take 20 cents. And PLD, Paul, Larry, David, that's my pick of the day, Emily.
Another earnings play today, Bill. We will follow PLD along with you. And coming up in just a moment, we will do a check-in on yesterday's pick of the day before signing off. So stick with us. But first, let's take a look at the current breaking headlines that have hit the tape in our Hot Off the Press segment. Bill, take it away.
Okay, what do we see here? WTW launches Radar 5 with generative AI capabilities. Okay. NTAP, Network Appliance, expands its collaboration with Red Hat. United Airlines is scheduling its first Starlink-equipped mainline flight for takeoff. That's for internet online and flights. Only get $2.7 billion in multi-year contracts from PAC-3 Seeker production. Broadcom, AVGO to launch Thor Ultra AI networking chip. Okay, let's talk Target for a second. TGT. They're launching a limited time collection of merchandise from outdoor brand Woolrich. That's interesting. They do a lot of that. That's why I like Target. PII, Polaris. They're going to sell Indian motorcycles business to a private equity firm. GSK, Gray Sam Kilo, GlaxoSmithKline Beckham. Their shingles vaccine was approved in China for high-risk adults. Yeah, PCH, Timberland owners, are announced a merger this morning. I guess that's all I'm saying this morning.
Okay, Bill, before we sign off, let's do that check-in on yesterday's pick of the day. I mentioned it earlier in the show was Wells Fargo. You did give us a look at the stock during your earnings rundown. They did report a EPS of $1.54 that was beat analyst estimates anywhere from 11 cents to 13 cents ahead of those expectations. Revenue was up about 0.6% year over year to $20.82 billion, and that was slightly ahead of expectations. Bill, the stock is having a solid run this morning. How did your call work out?
Worked out great. I mean, we were right on the money, I think. Look at the numbers. I mean, the stock opened up yesterday at $78.74, and it fell down to $78.27. Our entry price was $78.25. We're 2 cents away. I mean, that's a whisker, but still, then it ran, and it ran all the way up to $79.20. And I saw it trading $79.44 in the aftermarket, but I look at it after earnings this morning, $81.08. It actually hit a high of $81.70 earlier. So if you look at the stock trading, where it opened yesterday at $78.74, and you look at where its stock is now at over 81, you definitely made your 1%. So Wells Fargo was a big winner yesterday, Emily. Big winner.
Nice win there, Bill. I just saw 81.20. Solid pick, solid win. And tomorrow we will check in with you on today's earnings pick of the day, Prologis. Bill, thank you as always for your expert insight. Join us back here tomorrow and each weekday morning at NewsWare's Trade Talk, when we provide the facts, themes, and trading ideas for the day ahead. Again, I'm your host, Emily Bonney, here with trading anchor Bill Olson. Traders, you know what to do. Let's go out there and make some green.